You can begin.
皆様、こんにちは。出張がありませんので、日本語が忘れてしまいましたのに頑張りましょう。私は IJ ビジネス同社のカルマンソンネタと申します。よろしくお願いいたします。皆様は本日にわざわざお忙しいなのにご参加いただきました感謝の気持ちでいっぱいです。これから面白くてイノベーティブのサイバーセキュリティの会社を紹介させていただきたいと思っております。なお、ご質問がございましたら、ぜひご遠慮しないで Q&A のバトン系でお聞きくださいませ。それとも同時日本語通訳をご用意させていただきましたので、下記の下のツールバーで地球儀のボタンから日本語を選んでください。また、このウェビナーが終わってからご質問がございましたら、弊社の IJ 同会社へ直接お問い合わせください。Good afternoon to our dear guests from Japan and good morning to our dear customers and presenters from Israel. Great friends, colleagues, and customers and new people with us. It is our great pleasure to host you today and introduce to you our customers, 4 leading innovative cybersecurity companies from Israel. All of them are in such a status that they are ready for actual business also in Japan and looking for both customers, local agents, resellers. As you all might know, the cyber scene in Israel has a global leading position. In the first half of 2021, Israeli cybersecurity companies raised $3.4 billion in 50 deals, and 7 of them became unicorns, means private company whose value is higher than $1 billion. The half-year figure accounts for 41% of the total funds raised by cybersecurity firms worldwide. This is 3 times the amount raised in the same period a year earlier. And more than that, 18 Israeli cyber technology companies were acquired. Data I have mentioned are according to the Israel National Cyber Directorate. But before the companies we will present today will be acquired, they should be successful in Japan. So please help them. Yoroshiku onegaishimasu to succeed. I hope you will find this webinar not only interesting, but we will be able to materialize those business opportunities together with you. 2 technical issues. We will enable each presenter to talk 17 minutes, and then please send me in the Q&A buttons your question and I will raise the question. The one that will not be replied during the webinar, we will make sure to reply to you personally after the webinar. Also, please use the button for the translator in the bottom tool where you see a round globe symbol and just push on the Japanese language, and then you can hear our translator at the same time. Now it is my great pleasure and honor to invite the economic minister in the Israel embassy in Tokyo, Mr. Kolbar Daniel, for a short introduction. In this opportunity, let me thank Mr. Kolbar and his economic department team for your great support in this event. これからよろしくお願いします。歓迎な言葉、ダニエル、どうぞ。Please.
ありがとうございます。皆さん、こんにちは。ダニエル・コルバーと申します。よろしくお願いいたします。I'll switch to English at this point. Thank you, my interpreter, for the interpretation. So hello to everyone here and to the friends and colleagues in Israel. I'm very happy to be here today at the event that we have the opportunity to support. This is on behalf of the Israel's Economic and Trade Mission in Japan, Embassy of Israel in Japan, Ministry of Economy. Now we are here to foster and facilitate cooperation between Israel and Japan, promote business between our countries, and there's certainly a lot of potential for business, a lot of synergy between what Japan is very good at and what Israel is very good at. What we've seen in recent years is a very strong positive momentum in the relations between Israel and Japan, especially since 2014 Many agreements were signed, many delegations coming from Israel to Japan and vice versa. A lot of offices opening for Japanese companies in Israel and vice versa. Investments was mentioned earlier by Neta-san. Indeed, there are a lot of investments from Japan in Israel, to the point where today more than 11% of the foreign investments in Israel come from Japan, and they've increased 20% from 2019. So despite the corona, we see that the boom, the positive momentum is continuing, and a lot of interest from Japanese side in Israel, and also from the Israel side in Japan. So today is another opportunity to give some exposure to what Israel has to offer in terms of cyber. And cyber, as mentioned earlier, getting 41% of total investments in the world for such a small country, we're definitely very proud of this achievement of the Israeli industries. It's certainly an indication of Israel's, leadership in this sector. But investments in Israel in general, not only in cyber, have increased from the world. 2021, the first half, more investment were raised than all of 2020. And so 2020, which was already a record. So it's certainly good news. Now we are in the midst of the global pandemic, and it's hard not to talk about it. It has affected economically many countries, of course, Israel and of course Japan. We've seen almost 5% negative growth in Japan. It has affected certain sectors, but cyber, I think everyone understands that as people move into working from home, it makes it necessary for more cyber preparedness. And so we've seen a very high growth in this sector. It's important for all companies to be prepared. And also in sectors that are developing, like automotive sector, of course, there's need for cyber. In healthcare, there's need for cyber. Today, I'm very looking forward to hearing very interesting companies developing cyber solutions. Japan and Israel, in terms of cyber, have made very important steps recently. I mentioned 2 agreements in cyber were signed. There's constant dialogue between the governments to collaborate on cyber. We've certainly seen a lot of interest in that. And next week we will have Cyber Week, is the most important cyber event of the year. We have many people from Japan registered, participating, also as companies sponsoring or serving as partners for this event. It's a great opportunity, and I take the opportunity to invite all of our viewers to take the opportunity and also join that event, and continue to be in touch with us here at the Economic Mission. We are here to help you connect with the Israeli innovative ecosystem. So without further ado, I would like to wish us all a very interesting event, and thank you very much. Arigatou gozaimashita.
Thank you very much, Mr. Daniel Kolbar, for your nice wording. And we will begin with our presentations. And the first presentation will be of Sasa software, Mugaika and Kai Kochiku, what we call CDR. Mr. Arad Ronen, APAC Tanto, Senior Director, Dozo. Please, Mr. Ronen.
Hello and welcome to our presentation. Thank you for attending. My name is Ronen Arad, and I'm the Senior Director for Sasa Software in the APAC region. Today we're going to talk about CDR. CDR technology has been in Israel for over 12-15 years. I'm happy to report that the world is trying to and starting to recognize the added value that CDR has. In fact, Gartner has recognized CDR, has made several publications, and actually gave us the Cool Vendor Award for 2020. So that's a big step for us, and it's a proven fact that CDR is on the map. Today, we're going to go with a few points to show you the added value of CDR. So a little bit about ourselves. We are a company from Israel, north part of Israel, a kibbutz named Kibbutz Sasa, hence the name Sasa Software. We are part of a big corporation that does armored vehicles. So Sasa Software in the past used to be the IT channel of Plasan Sasa, an armored vehicle company that did very well for the American Army and for NATO. So a part of being compliant with the American regulation called ITAR, we developed this CDR technology and improved it. In 2013, we went out from Plasan Sasa and became our own identity called Sasa Software. I'm happy to report that today we are serving over 330 customers worldwide, very dominating in Israel, but not only. Some of the awards that we have is the Gartner Cool Vendor, Frost & Sullivan Best Vendor of APAC as well. Some of our top tier customers, as you can see, and the reason that I'm showing you, to show you the added value that every layer or every channel can use it, anywhere from security agencies to critical infrastructures to financials and others. As you can see, we have anywhere from Variant and Teva to Noble Energy, Eva Air in Taiwan, IPZS in Italy, Bank de Portugal, and so on and so forth. We're very strong in Singapore. As you know, just like Japan, Israel, and Singapore do a lot of collaboration, including in the cyber. So we're already working in the Singaporean market for 6 years and doing very well over there as well. So CDR really focused on file-based attack, and we can see that many of the cyber attacks that we reported recently, 49% of them will come from a file-based attack. 90% of them will come from a permitted route, which is business to business and others. As the ambassador mentioned, the pandemic, so we've seen an increase in attacks due to the COVID-19 because a lot of companies have permitted employees working from home and open and loosen up a lot of security limitation that had done before. It's not a secret. Every month we see some sort of publications of cyber attack. We've seen last a month or 2 months ago, SolarWinds, Colonial Pipeline, and others. I also collected several Japanese companies that have shown or had an attack, anywhere from Honda, Toyota, Canon, and Hoya, which is a Japanese lens manufacturer. Any one of them has suffered some sort of a cyber attack. And my question is why? Because those companies, Honda and Canon and Colonial, are really companies with deep pockets, that they have the best of breed of everything, the best firewall and the best antivirus and the best of other things. And why yet we see many cyber attacks? Because a lot of the protection that they have is detection-based solutions, which is okay and good, because we also rely on detection. But nevertheless, detection in today's world is simply not enough. And you have to also focus on prevention. And with the CDR technology, I will really try to, in the next 10, 12 minutes, to show you the added value that we bring in detection, but also implementation of prevention of unknown attacks. So how the CDR actually works? Basically, we have two legs for CDR. One is A, the detection part, and B is the reconstruction part. So based on the policy, because we understand that not every employee or not every organization has the same needs. So based on the policy, we take the file and we break it down to the basic elements of each file. Because we break down the file, Our detection tools, which is 5 commercials, AVs, 3 TrueType engine, and next generation AV have the ability and the capability to detect a lot of things that normal AVs or regular AVs simply cannot detect. But as I mentioned, detection is not enough. We also do the implementation of the reconstruction. What does it mean? It means that I change the format in a certain way, that I take out any elements like JavaScript or macro in Excel that can be hidden as a vector of attack. At the end of the process of doing the detection and the reconstruction, I assemble the file in a way that it visually looks good to the user, and then I give it to them as a harmless copy file to continue of work. All of this process is being done on a copied file. The reason why is because you can always do a lighter scan, or if you have to show the authenticity of the file that has not been damaged or harmed, you can always go to the original. So again, all of the CDR process is being done on a copied file in one way or another. As I mentioned, some of our detection tools that we are really do well is we added recently some new features like Sentinel-1, which is a next-gen AV that focus on PE scanning, Siren, which has advanced-based scanning, including cloud URL, and Silence, which is from the BlackBerry householding that does really good work on PDF and MS Office scanning. Of course, if you also implement, like we do, Yara with base 64, you give an extensive amount of security and capabilities. As I mentioned, Gartner in the last 2 years has noticed CDR. They actually gave the name CDR, Content, Disarm, and Reconstruction. And if you're a Gartner customer, I urge you to go and see some publications that Gartner is talking about CDR. There's a few mentionings of Sasa software in particular, but you can also see some really good key sentences that they say, like CDR protects against exploits and weaponized content that have never seen before, which we are very proud, of course. Some more of Gartner's publications. By 2022, we're going to see an increase of 20% of organizations that are going to use CDR and the day-to-day operations. It just shows you that the prediction of CDR is right now on the ground and moving up forward for other companies. So it's not me or Sasa saying it, it's actually Gartner, an undevoted company that does a lot of work in the IT area. So again, our philosophy is very, very simple. If this is your network, we urge you to check any data or any file that is coming through the outside. It can be somebody that you know, somebody that you don't know. It doesn't matter. We're going to work and do the CDR, the sanitization to every file that's coming. And we have a big, wide suite to do so. We can help anywhere from detachable media to third-party application to FTP, which is the file transfer protocol, internet download, cloud-based solutions, healthcare, which is DICOM, and last but not least, my favorite is the email solution, because we've seen that the email solution can be the #1 vector of hackers and attackers that are going to come through that route. Just a couple of our top tier icon solutions that we sell. Like I mentioned, the email, which I'm going to talk about it extensively in a couple of minutes. Assistance with secure browsing. Our API, which is a third-party connector to other solutions, which has been very, very popular in our sales division. Network separation or network OT and IT, which I'm going to talk about as well. And of course, detachable media like USB, CD, DVD. We have an application to work from your desktop or a kiosk that can be in critical infrastructure areas. Some topologies to make it really interesting. How does it work? Simply, we implement a Sasa solution in between the mail relay and the exchange. Is very simple to do so. We're very flexible on the implementation. It can be virtual, it can be physical, it can be in the cloud, it can be on-prem. We are willing to work with any individual or any company and suit their needs according to their layout and network. As I mentioned, API will connect to a third-party solution like Menlo, which is very popular in Japan or in APAC, Fireglass, Ericom, and others, to ensure that when you surface the web, you're secure with those third-party applications or solutions. But when you want to download some data, you can download via our API to Sasa Software Gate Scanner CDR solution. Another example of the API connected to Salesforce. The possibilities are really endless. We've seen many solutions, third-party applications connect to Sasa through our API. Very popular recently. A lot of companies, organizations, and governments have noticed that to really be protected, they have to do a network separation. So this is your public network, which you have your regular emails or surfacing the web. And over here you have your, that's the IT. And over here you have your OT, meaning that your confidential papers, documents, your own proprietary development that you don't want anything to be exposed to the outer world. You have to separate them. Luckily for you, we have an option or capability to connect your IT to OT, combining with CDR. Very popular solution. Now, I'm going to take the remaining of the time to really focus on the mail for several reasons. One is the #1 vector of attack, and two, everybody has an email. If you're a company or organization with 5 people or 50,000, you will still have an email solution. So how does an email attack will occur? A hacker that can be sitting anywhere around the globe, could be in China, North Korea, or others. He will send the mail, he or she will send the mail, and the user will open the mail. 40% of them will see that can and will open the mail. Either press on a link or open an attachment and generate an attack. It could be anywhere simple as an attack that can be a ransom, and anywhere from an attack can be even harsher than a ransom. It can stop your operations. So how does it work? Before that, we do have also a capability of connecting to 365. In fact, Gartner is recommending to add a CDR solution to Office 365 because they say, and again, it's Gartner saying that Office 365 is simply not secure enough in the email platform that they submitted in the cloud. So we do have a connector to 365, to Azure, and others. So as I promised, how does it work? Sasa software will actually receive a mail, all the incoming bound. And as IT professionals, let me ask you this, how many vectors of attack do you see here? Some of you will look at the attachment and will say 1 or 2, which is good. But in today's world, we've seen that the sophisticated hackers will actually try to overlook the attachment and the header and really try to focus on other things like the body or hiding behind the picture and others. Sasa software will manage and CDR all of those parts. As I mentioned before, if you remember, I disassemble all the parts. So here you go. When we disassemble all the parts, we come into 20 different parts that are all going to be handed to the CDR engines that all work active, and do a small reconstruction or a light reconstruction to the body as well. A lot of companies also will send you a tracking pixel, which is not a security issue, it's more of a privacy issue. But when we do the CDR process, we actually eliminate this tracking pixel, which is very good if you're compliant with privacy laws. Also, another weak link that we see in companies, that is a password protected attachments. people or organizations tend to overlook this attachment and not give it really any stage for that, and will insert to the organization without checking it. And hackers can use this chain of route. Luckily for you, Sasa has the ability to check password protected attachment. The way it works, when we receive a password protected attachment, we will hold the mail, notify the user, please provide the password. We will open it, CDR the attachment, the body, as I showed earlier. Once it's done, I'll pass it back on to the user. Hence, the user is happy, the organization is happy, and you are secure. When we do a penetration test, we always get a very high score. 0 in a penetration test is considered very, very good. And my time is almost up. I do have about a minute and a half. So in conclusion, to what we saw today, we talked about CDR technology, content disarm and reconstruction that embeds it also detection, but also does prevention. It helps with many of the data routes that you want to bring to the organization. It's easy to deploy, easy to manage, and easy to report. It's a proven award-winning solution by third-party neutral companies and ideal for financial, insurance, critical infrastructure, healthcare, and government. I want to thank you for taking the time and listening to me. And if you have any questions, I'll be happy, delighted, and honored to answer. Arigato gozaimasu.
Okay, so actually we do have one question here from the audience, and I would like to ask you, Ronen, on behalf of the audience. So the part of the reconstruction that, about the part of the reconstruction, can you give us an example of how the reconstruction adds security to the organization or reduce the risk in data files? If you can give any example or explain more.
Excellent. I actually do have a sample file over here, which I will share with you. You can tell me if you can see it. So this is a regular file that it's a PDF form. PDF is a combination of text and pictures that make together, and it's a very popular format that a lot of companies use. Unfortunately, also the hackers like it because...
Well, then we still don't see it.
Okay, 1 second. Can you see it now?
No, stop sharing the screen and then choose the one that you want with the PDF.
Can you see it now?
Yeah, no,
okay.
It's okay.
Okay, sorry about the delay. As you can see over here, PDF, as I mentioned earlier, PDF is a very popular format that's used around the world, but unfortunately also by the hackers, because it's a combination of text and picture that is creating the PDF. And as you can see over here, it's a PDF form that once I press the start, it's a PDF that has a JavaScript in the back that it's a game that somebody created, and it's a nice and funny game, but also hackers can use this platform and still use this macro or JavaScript in the back as a vector of attack. So let me show you what CDR does to a PDF that is coming in the mail or anything in that sort. Can you see the file now?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, very good. So as you can see, we stayed still in a PDF format. Nothing has really changed. Everything is pretty alike. But now when I press the start button or I press the fly, it doesn't work. And what happened over here is we did detection, we didn't oversee anything, But when we did the reconstruction part, we took out the JavaScript and that was hidden there. We basically eliminated the vector of attack. So I was proactive and took out the JavaScript, but still maintained the PDF format so the user can continue to work. That's pretty much what happens when we take the files and transfer it to the CDR process. I hope it answered the question.
Okay, just on time. Thank you so much, Ronen, for the very interesting presentation. And we would like to move to our next presenter, next company, Pentera, used to be Pcysys. Pentera is in Pcysys. Senden Sareta Jido Shinyo Testo Platform. Kaplan Oren-san, Senbiakuteki Teikei Oyobi APJ no Director. Dozo, please, Oren.
Hello, everyone. My name is Oren Kaplan, and I'm very excited to be here today. Very excited to be here and join all of you with this webinar, and thank you for attending. I lead Pentera business in the APJ region, and I brought you a very, very interesting look at cybersecurity today. And let's begin. So let me start with a fact. For the past decade and more, all of us in this room were focusing on getting more technologies in order to better protect our infrastructure, protect our legacy application, protect our IT environments and cloud workloads, our everywhere office, and our employees. The focus was mainly around better, taller, and hopefully stronger walls, aka prevention technologies. The second focus was pretty much the exact opposite. Prevention is not good enough. Let's add more visibility, detect, and respond. If you look today, most of the biggest cyber companies today are based on detection and response. However, although we focus on all these things, we hear the news daily. The past decade approach is simply not working. What we hear every day is countless scenarios of ransomware attacks. So we're basically counting on these embedded controls in our infrastructure to protect us. Have we really stopped validate that investment we made? I mean, do we know for a fact that the new technologies in our security operation are working as intended? Do they meet the promise of which they were brought to begin with? Were they kept up to date, aligned to your dynamic IT infrastructure and changes that are constantly growing? So let's align the gap with the speed of which the business is moving and attack surface is expanding. Exposure levels with time are only getting bigger, and technologies in many cases are not really adapted to the new digital norm. As you can see, the network keeps changing with time. There's so many changes, and our goal as security professionals is to always keep our risk level at the acceptable area. So basically, we look at ransomware. And it's unfortunately a great example why we're adding more tools for prevention and detection. And you know what? It's not really the goal. Validating these tools is the goal. And let's look at a couple of stats for the past year about ransomware. So if you look at 2020, in 2020 alone, in the year 2020 alone, only around $350 million were paid to ransomware groups. Okay, that's an increase of more than 300% from the prior year. Organizations that are affected already 2.5 multiplied from 2020, and 50% of all security insurance claims are counted are already here in H1. You see here on the right the name of these ransomware groups, and every day we hear about more and more attacks. So I would like to ask everyone here, really, how confident are you with the question, am I ready? Basically from what we're seeing worldwide, assumptions are completely different from reality. What you think is often the case is not necessarily the case, for better or for worse. And basically, I want to introduce to you today a new and completely different way to test ransomware. To not answer only the questions, am I ready, but to be confident that you are ready. The approach is 100% based on reality. And let me walk you through each step, each and every step. So let's take, for example, the two of the most common ransomware strains, Maze and REvil. What if I could tell you that you could start attacking your own environment in a completely safe manner, exactly like these real attacks? Perform a sequence of events starting from launching the attack, injecting the process, exploiting the payload, encrypting using the same encryption mechanism, exfiltrate the data, and command and control communication. So what you see here, does that look familiar? These are the same exact actions that the adversaries are doing in complete alignment with the MITRE attack framework. But it's not enough. So after we checked, after we attacked and validated that your security program is actually working against these ransomware strains, now we need to prioritize and remediate. And now you really know the impact. You understand, if a ransomware attack comes tomorrow, where will it come from? How can I protect? What platforms are actually detecting, preventing, and actually working when the times comes? And if they don't, let's make sure they are. So basically, Pentera is a way to really validate all these things. Now, what I'm showing you today is not the future. This is Pentera. Going a bit deeper on the ransomware ready portion. So when you run this ransomware single action, it will basically challenge everything you have, starting from launching the attack, injecting the process. This entire process will challenge all and validate all the security controls that you've paid millions upon millions upon millions of dollars. Once you understand and you have the ability to really test yourself, then you can really focus on the root cause vulnerability, irregardless of CVSS score or where it is. You can really focus and prioritize to make sure that the IT team works on the right things and how to fix the root cause vulnerabilities and validate all the security controls in the background. So this is basically under the hood of what I was showing you about what ransomware ready Pentera is doing. So you can say it will test everything you have, starting from host enumeration to remote code execution framework, file encryption, data exfiltration, and at the end, it will clean everything up, leaving no remains. So our solution is Pentera, and Pentera is the first automated security validation platform. We're basically helping all the organizations worldwide to constantly validate and improve their cybersecurity posture. So like I showed you before, Pentera will give you the ability to lower the risk level going on a continuous manner and fashion, because there's so many changes. Like if you look at statistics, the dynamic nature of our work, of our environment makes so many things change in any constant moment. and you need a platform that can really help you look at your network and assess and validate your risk level. And this is Pentera. So why Pentera? So what Pentera does, like I said, it will validate all your security controls and will show you your exposure. The way we do it by being as close as possible to the adversary and basically running an automated penetration testing activity. Pentera is an agentless platform, meaning there's no need to install any agents in the tested network. It is 100% real. It will find the vulnerabilities and will exploit them in real time. It will not simulate. Having said that, it's 100% safe. Safety is our #1 concern, and we make sure that we don't do any harm in the tested network. We only test the network to propagate the attack and to really show the right exposures. It's a very complete and comprehensive kind of attack because it will do everything an adversary would do, only in a click of a button and very, very fast. Now on the left side, you'll see the Pentera wheel, which talks in high level about what Pentera is doing while it's running. And as you can see, all these actions that you see on the left, starting at 12 o'clock, from network recon to a vulnerability assessment that only focuses on exploitable vulnerabilities, sniffing credentials, cracking these credentials or hashes, using relay techniques, trying to use malware injections like the ransomware piece I showed you, gather data, lateral move, pivot between different machines, privilege escalate, and all these things, obviously these being very, very high level things that under the hood, there are so many things that are happening. This is how Pentera operates, and this is how it works. So when you use Pentera, it really allows you to focus and look at your exposure on one hand, and then it will allow you, while you find the exposure, you find these ways to get in, you'll have the way to validate. Because when Pentera works exactly like a hacker, it will challenge everything you have. And once you validate, it will allow you to really prioritize. Because if you know for a fact that Pentera was able to access an area of your network, a host, a server, starting and then understanding the whole kill chain, understanding the root cause of that kill chain, you can go ahead and remediate it. Pentera has a remediation wiki, which was written by our engineers, and it allows real professional recipe to remediation of vulnerabilities and of exposures. And a little bit about the company. So we're founded 2015. Right now, more than 40 million in funding, 3 very distinguished funds like Insight Partners, Blackstone from New York, and AWZ Ventures from Canada are our investors. More than 120 employees, more than 250 customers right now and counting. We have offices in 4 places around the world, Tel Aviv, where I'm at. And we have a large office in Boston for support and sales, in London and in Hamburg, Germany. A little bit about our company timeline. So like I said, 2015 is when we started. 2017, our first customer. In 2019, we already have 30 customers. And fast forward, today we have 250 customers. We rebranded from Pcysys, which Neta mentioned before, to Pentera. We're pretty much vertical agnostic. As you can see, financial services is our #1 vertical, followed by healthcare. On the right side, you see names of a few of our very distinguished customers, our marquee customers. You might be familiar with the free names like Toyota, NEC, and NTT. These are the customers, the large customers that we have from Japan, and the rest are equally as important. So with this, I'll send it back to you, Neta, and I'd like to thank you all for listening.
Okay, thank you so much for such an interesting presentation. Maybe especially those of you in the audience that are in charge of security feel less convenient after such a speech. We do have some questions. Let's begin. First of all, can you explain shortly about the one-day real POV or POC, if you can elaborate more, and then if you can talk a little bit more about the agentless approach and the differences.
Definitely, Neta. Thank you so much. So first of all, these two questions are intertwined together. Pentera, I'll start with the second question. Pentera is an agentless platform. And I think that's the biggest, or one of the biggest advantages of Pentera, because it allows any organization today to bring in Pentera and without doing anything additional, let it work in their environment. Because there are some approaches that talk about deploying different agents in areas of your network and then simulating movement between these agents. We believe in another way, in an agentless approach, because an adversary that will attack us will never have agents in our network. They will get a foothold within by phishing, social engineering, enemy from within, and then start building the attack, building the picture like a puzzle, piece by piece. And this is what we want to be. We want to be as close, Pentera is as close as possible to the adversary, thus being an agentless platform. It also allows us, like Neta said, to run a one-day proof of value, or we call it a health check. I can come in tomorrow to each and every one of you, no commitment, and run a one-day activity to a small sample amount of IPs to really test your environment with our platform with zero prerequisites from your end. You don't have to do anything. Since Pentera is agentless, it does not require the customer or the prospect to install anything, to have any overhead of professional services coming in. And that's extremely, extremely important. And again, if you're interested, please reach out to Neta and the team, and we'll come in and show you in one day, 4 hours, a sample of our penetration testing activity in your network, which can give you a sense of understanding of how your risk is in a small scale, but still allows you, one, to understand your risk, and two, evaluate Pentera and understand whether you need that platform on an ongoing basis. Because the idea here is to really test your environment continuously and not just settle for one snapshot in time, is to be able to really test yourself. If you remember that graph, on an ongoing continuous basis, because the risk levels are only going up. So we will give you a snapshot for you to really see how you're doing, and really on a small scope, and allow you to evaluate the platform.
Thank you so much. And we do have one more question from the audience as to the load. How much load does the Pentera make to the customer or to the system? And how do they feel whether it's bother the network, etc.?
Yes, that's a great question. I can tell you that we put all of our efforts to make sure that there's no load at all. I can tell you that our customers are running Pentera on production system on ongoing basis, not only at night or not only on the weekends. They want to test all the attack surfaces and all the attack scenarios. Therefore, it takes very, very small load on your network, because at the end, safety is our #1 priority. And we make sure that Pentera will not hinder or create overload in your network. And this is a part of what we do each and every day. So, and this is what we can prove also in that one-day health check or POV, is to really showcase how light touch this platform actually is in regards to load on the network.
Great. Okay, so far, thank you so much, Oren, for a very interesting presentation, and I'm sure you raise a lot of interest. We will move to our third very interesting company, BigID. BigID is dealing with the Jitsuyo Tekina data intelligence. Darren sama, EMEA and APAC Fukushacho. Dozo, please, Mr. Darren.
Thank you, Neta. Thank you very much. It's my pleasure to be here and to present to you. I'm representing BigID, and we are an Israeli New York company. Our development is in Tel Aviv. I would like to introduce you to the company. We were founded in 2016, so we are 5 years old, and we have been fortunate enough to win plenty of awards, both for security and for privacy and for the data governance discipline. You'll see that we are very well funded. We're a private company, but we are funded by venture capitalists, including some what I would describe as kind of more traditional venture capitalist money from companies like Bessemer, but also some new type of venture capitalist companies like SAP.io and Salesforce Ventures and so on. We're about 370 employees today, and we're growing very, very fast. And we're in a very privileged position because we are able to reference some very significant companies as our customers, including many of the Fortune 100 companies, and indeed 3 of the Fortune 10. So let me introduce you to what we do. Essentially, BigID is a data discovery tool. And the data discovery tool allows us to find your critical data assets within your environment in order that you can then take advantage of those assets for use cases in privacy, security, and data governance. And so the original genesis of the company was to solve a challenge associated with some of the privacy regulations, and specifically to be able to find all of the data related to an individual. And so to solve this problem back in 2016, we recognized that we would need to be able to connect to a wide variety of systems. And you can see those systems here at the very bottom of this slide. And so to connect to a wide variety of systems allows us to be able to then inspect those systems for the data that is held within those systems. And so you can see here that we support structured systems like databases, unstructured systems like file stores. We support big data like Hadoop, semi-structured systems like Mongo and Cassandra. We support data pipelines like Kafka and Kinesis, and lots of SaaS applications. We also support the major infrastructure as a service technologies and the stacks that they have within there, as well as business applications like SAP and Vertica and so on. And we even support mainframe for data discovery. So the idea was that we would connect to these systems, and our connection is a read-only connection, and there is no agent. So we simply connect to these systems and we read the systems and discover the data within those systems. But actually, in order to discover the data, we needed to innovate, because if you think back to 2016, really the only strategy that was available at that time to be able to find data was the use of regular expressions and pattern matching. And we recognized that that particular strategy introduced a significant amount of false positives and false negatives. And so we wanted to increase the accuracy from those legacy tools, and we saw an opportunity to employ mathematics in order to increase the accuracy. And this is really the innovation that BigID brings. And so in the center section of this slide, you will see classify, correlate, cluster, and catalog. And these are different strategies that we employ to find the data. And so in the classification bubble here, we're employing a deep learning neural network mathematical model that allows us to do something called, we call it named entity recognition. And this allows us to use natural language processing to find things that were very, very difficult to find using regular expressions historically. So things like your name or your address, which of course are very, very important variables when you consider privacy use cases. But we also then innovated and we employed some fuzzy mathematics. And this is in the cluster analysis element here. And so we employ some fuzzy mathematics. And what fuzzy mathematics does is it allows us to find data that is similar. And so you can think about this in terms of files. So for example, think about CVs. So my CV is different to Neta's CV, but they both contain similar data: the name, the address, the employment history, the certifications, the hobbies and interests. And so we can find documents that are similar and group them together for you so that you can take some appropriate action. And this is very popular in the security use case, where perhaps you want to label all of those files that are similar together. But we also do both structured and unstructured in the cluster analysis. And in the structured space, this is also very interesting because it allows organizations to see where within their databases they have similar data. And this also feeds into the data governance program and things like data lineage. Lastly, we also do correlation, and correlation is employing a mathematical discipline called graph theory. And what correlation does is it allows us to understand the relationship between different data objects and different data elements. And actually, what this essentially does is it allows you to create a virtual master data record for a unique identifier. And so this might be a customer number, or a customer email address, or a customer mobile number, or it might be a stock keeping unit, or possibly a contract number, or a patent number. Essentially you can train BigID, the correlation engine, on your unique identifier, and BigID will find all of the associated data to that unique identifier. And so essentially these different ways of looking for data, which we call classification, correlation, and cluster analysis, we present all the results through a unified data registry, which we call catalog. And within the catalog, you can also then apply business logic, such as business terms from your business glossary. And so using this very advanced capability, we are able to find more data more accurately and faster than has been available historically. And then what was really fascinating was that whilst the original genesis of the company was to solve a privacy use case, actually we discovered that we find all of the data in all of these systems. And so we're in a position where actually we can provide fantastic value across not only privacy use cases, but also security use cases and data governance use cases. And so let's explore those in a little more detail. So this is essentially the same slide. You can see the data sources at the bottom of the slide, and you can see the discovery strategies that we employ here in these colorful icons. But on top of the discovery engine, we have an application framework. And this is a completely open application framework. And we have customers and partners who are also creating applications to take advantage of this data intelligence that we find at from the foundation. But BigID also provides a number of applications that service specific business use cases. So in Japan, you have the APPI privacy regulation and the amendments which are happening to that regulation right now. And so on the top left of this slide, you will see a number of privacy related applications which can take advantage of the foundation, the Discovery Foundation. And so you'll see that we have an inventory of sensitive data. We can fulfill upon things like subject access requests, where a customer may ask, what data do you hold on me? We can support records of processing activity with the data processing and sharing application. We can help you to operationalize consent. So if you are capturing consent through multiple channels, then using that correlation capability, we can map the consent to different data objects. And therefore you can know at any point what data you are allowed to use, even if you are capturing the consent through the mobile channel or the web channel or through physical stores and contracts and those kind of things. And you can see we also drive your privacy process if you have a desire to do that through the privacy portal. And help you to manage cookies is a new feature that's coming shortly. But also in the security space, we have data protection apps. So we can help you to profile the risk associated with the data in your environment based upon the age of the data, the location of the data, the sensitivity of the data, the access rights to the data, and a wide variety of other capabilities and variables which are related to the data itself. We can assist you in the event of a breach, where perhaps there is some of your data exposed on the dark web, or a threat actor is presenting you with some data, holding you to ransom, saying they've stolen your data. Then you can sample that data, and BigID will show you where in your environment, based upon the data structure and the data attributes, where most likely that breach, that event occurred, where the data was stolen from. And this can really help you in terms of focusing your incident response activities. We can also help you with data labeling. So based upon policy, you can then label the data through an integration that we have with a data labeling framework called MIP from Microsoft. But you can essentially, based upon policy, instruct that labeling framework to apply labels to files. But also, this is the same mechanism by which we can stimulate tools that may drive for you redaction or tokenization of your data. And we do that again through policy based upon what we have discovered. And then you'll see we have access intelligence information that we can expose based upon the access rights to the data in your environment. And then we can drive data remediation. So based upon policy and any of the variables associated with the data, you can then drive a resolution if any data is non-compliant. And then you'll see on the right-hand side of this slide that we also have data governance apps. And these data governance apps can drive a retention policy. They can help your data scientists with profiling appropriate data to train your data, your new mathematical models. We can support data quality initiatives and data stewardship initiatives. Okay, and in fact, data quality and data stewardship are in the process of being released as apps right now. And then we have some other apps like Lineage and Master Data Management coming slightly later in the year. And so what makes BigID different from the tools that perhaps you've seen historically? Well, the first one, of course, is the coverage. I mentioned that we have a very wide range of coverage and we continue to increase that. You know, a good example is support for Yosegi Hive is perhaps an important variable in terms of consideration in the Japanese market. We also have this ability to provide the context. And this is really the value where you see the correlation and the cluster analysis and the classification all working together to give you an understanding of the relationship between the different data objects. We work at scale, and I mentioned we have 3 of the Fortune 10 companies as customers, including the world's largest retailer, the world's largest telecommunications company. And we know that working at scale is a very large challenge, and we work very, very effectively with a modern software architecture to do that. We have enterprise class capability with integration to the relevant enterprise functionality like role-based access and so on. You can take action on the data based upon privacy, security, or governance use cases, as I mentioned with those apps. It's an open ecosystem. If you have a use case that we don't yet address and you have the ability to engineer your own app, you can do that. Or you can have your systems integrator do that. It's completely open in terms of architecture. And we're employing the latest techniques with machine learning and data science. We can actively extract business, operational, and technical metadata. So if you already have a data catalog like Kolbar or SAP Data Intelligence or Informatica EDC, we can populate those third-party catalogs. And we can drive end-to-end automation with things like retention and remediation. And we are, of course, risk and privacy aware as a discovery tool. And this really brings great value to our customer base. And so I'll leave you with this slide here, the final slide in the presentation, which highlights some of the awards that we've won. As an organization, I mentioned we started in 2016. We were lucky enough to win the Gartner Cool Vendor 2018, and that also coincided with winning the RSA Innovation Sandbox, which was a very significant moment in the company's history. However, there are some awards on here which I would just like to highlight, and you will see that we are a World Economic Forum Technology Pioneer winner. And that award actually came with a statement related to a technology that has the potential to change society, which I found a very profound statement. And the reason is, of course, that in driving efficient data discovery at scale across very complex systems and understanding the relationship of the data, you are in a position where you can drive appropriate activity from securing that data, because you can only secure what you know about. You can drive the appropriate activity related to respecting the privacy of elements of that data. As a custodian of data related to your customers, this is an increasingly important topic. And in your data governance program, in order to take advantage of the data assets that you have that are the most valuable assets in your organization to drive new products and services, you really need to understand what data is there and how you can use it. And we can service that use case as well.
Great, Darren,
So,
we are out of time.
Thank you very much. I come to a conclusion. Perfect time.
Okay, Darren, so thank you for a fascinating presentation, and I'm sure your achievement and status will give appetite to our audience to do more in Japan. And in this regard, we got two questions. One of them related whether you have any, whether you tested your data being, when your data been discovered with double bytes, could you manage to discover it? And how about your experience to work with Japanese customers? So you have only 1.5 minutes, please go ahead.
Yes, thank you very much for the questions. That's really appreciated. So yes, the engine is able to work very effectively with double byte character sets. We have been tested, or we're in testing right now with a number of very significant Japanese companies, and the results are really wonderful. This also includes the optical character recognition capability for file types that are images or so on, and we support the CJTK character set for the optical character recognition as well. And so, yes, there's full support for double byte characters, and we are currently deployed in a number of Japanese companies, and it's and some of them are very large and very challenging environments, and we're producing some really wonderful results. And so we are confident that we can give you a good experience. Today, our most local office is in Singapore, and we're servicing our Japanese prospects from the Singapore office at the moment. But we're very keen to meet partners as well in the Japanese market who can help us go to market in that region as well. And we're currently doing some work in that space right now.
Great. Okay, thank you so much, Darren. And we're moving, sorry for the last question, we won't have time, so we will reply to you personally. And we're moving to our last but not least presenter, Mr. Herman Liad from SafeHouse Technology. Please pay attention to the fact we're talking here about B2B2C, unlike the other company. And SafeHouse is dealing with Digitaru Kukan de Jitsutsai no Jinbutsu o Hogo Suru. So please go ahead, Mr. Liad Herman, CEO of the company.
Thank you, Neta. Nice to meet everybody. My name is Liad Herman. I'm an ex-intelligence officer in the Israeli Defense Forces, the ex-chief cyber consultant for the Israeli aerospace industry, and the CEO of SafeHouse Technologies. SafeHouse, let me share the screen. SafeHouse is quite a different company than the regular cyber companies you came to know and are aware of. Our main mission is to provide digital safety for real people and not just cybersecurity for devices. And we are already providing safety to more than 750,000 paying customers. You see, in today's world, our phone is our gateway to the digital identity. The same as if we have our physical layer and our family layer, we have a digital layer of existence. And on that layer, there are many risks. Now, Being cyber experts like we are, we can talk about threats and penetration tests and so on and so forth for all day long. But 98% of people, real people, they don't care. They don't know how to even approach the solution. All they know is that they are at risk. That's where SafeHouse comes in. And Bodyguard, our #1 solution, comes into play. Bodyguard is a one-button app. All you have to do is click that button once. And from that moment on, you are always, always, always secured. So the next time you will encounter anything malicious online, Bodyguard will detect and prevent it in real time. And all you as a user have to do is just use your phone regularly. Now, how does it work? Or where does the technology comes from? Sorry, there's been a mix. What we've created is taking our know-how of building SOCs and CERTs, security operation centers for countries and armies, and minimizing it, putting it on a cloud. Then we connect our end user. It can be a phone, through an app, an SDK, an agent, or even agentless while working with telecommunication providers, to the cloud through a peer-to-peer encrypted tunnel. We're the first to market with the WireGuard technology. You can think of WireGuard as the next evolutionary step of VPN. Once connected, the SafeHouse cloud does all the computing and the thinking for the user. With different security and privacy engine connected to it, we can enable different layers of security and privacy to our users, from cybersecurity to privacy, parental control, anti-toxicity, and also enterprise protection of employees. And how does it work so far? Well, we're growing and growing fast. In the last year alone, working with local partnerships, such as in India, we are able to grow and do with a single partner more than $500,000 in sales month on month on month on month. Going back to the technology, the way that we've built the SafeHouse cloud is that we can pick and choose different elements of security and safety for our users, from pure cybersecurity, which is by itself divided to 3 layers, from looking at the traffic sources, making sure that they're trustworthy, looking at the traffic itself, making sure that it's clean and has no signatures, to our proprietary AI capability that not only runs through crawlers on the dark web and identify new threats, but can look at the metadata alone, like the length of a URL or the number of capital letters, to identify phishing attacks, like the one we've identified here in Israel about 6 months ago, stopping a major PayPal scam. We also provide a peer-to-peer encrypted WireGuard VPN connectivity to our users, which makes not only the internet a bit faster, but has a pure privacy element and can be connected through different servers around the world at the same time. And working with third parties, APIs, we now working on child protection, parental control, NLP-based security, image recognition-based security, anti-toxicity and LGBT crimes, hate crimes, and so on. We can protect the user from all of it in a click of a button. Now, today, we're mostly working as a B2B2C model, meaning that we sell our product to a local partner that provides it to his users, whether it's selling an actual annual license in stores next to the location where you buy your phone, or providing it through an SDK, through a banking app, an insurance app, or even through the telecommunication provider. I'm very glad to say that we've officially started working with 3 major insurance companies, Klal here in Israel, Bajaj Allianz in India, and another one in Europe, to provide a full umbrella of solutions. So it's not only that you get the bodyguard protection, or it's other kind of features, whether the one that looks online on the dark web to see if your information got leaked through a third-party hack, or the one that lets you lock different apps with different PIN codes. But now, once you click that button, with the right kind of partner, you can be secured and insured at the same time with the right kind of personal privacy, personal cyber policy that is being provided to you by the insurer. And last but not least, we are now able to take our existing technology and install it within a telecommunication or an internet service provider, either through a white labeled app or through an agentless opt-in service, which is completely integrated. We can easily implement without touching the GI or the core network of the telco at all, and provide the same kind of security to any IoT device, your smart fridge, Alexa, smart TV, smart cat. To us, it doesn't matter. We provide a layer of security that is based on the traffic itself. And then any traffic that goes through your router, if you are connected to our service, will be protected. We're glad to say that we're working closely with Tech Mahindra, one of the largest IT integrators in the world for ISPs and telcos, to provide that solution as a plug-and-play solution, meaning we can integrate it quickly and cheaply to any IoT or a ISP or telco provider that wants it. Last but not least, it's important to understand the difference of what we are offering. We are taking the architecture and the know-how of building a SOC or a CERT, a Security Operations Center, to anyone who needs it or anyone who wants it. So it's not only scanning your device, using antiviruses or old technology. We're bringing the homeland security element of cyber to any phone user, and as cheap as $12 a year to $30 a year, depending on geography. I won't take too much of your time, but what we're looking for today is mostly partners, whether it's distribution partners, ISP partners, or those who work with large enterprises that want to protect their BYOD solutions. We are growing very fast. We, as mentioned before, in less than a year, we are already protecting 750,000 people around the world. Of course, we are proud alumni of both the Techstars and Barclays Accelerator and the BAE System Accelerator, Barclays being our lead investor. And we are now looking to expand to Japan with the right kind of partner in mind to be able to protect anyone who needs it. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Liad, for an interesting introduction. And just one more question from the audience related to the business model, and how do you plan your business model while penetrating to a new market? Please elaborate more.
Gladly. What we usually do is find a local partner, either an internet service provider or a bank or an insurance company or a retail business, or someone who provides an IT solutions to a bigger crowd. And we identify what kind of crowds can be reached with our product, with as simple as that. Of course, the product itself is on the App Store or Google Play, and it's reachable to anyone, but we're looking for the right kind of partner to get to the bigger crowds and be able to explain the solution in a simple way. Once we locate that partner, we go hand in hand, usually towards the new geography. We understand that a new geography means local culture, means respect, means respect and understanding. And therefore, we always look at someone local to work with together, whether it will be in India, Israel, UK, France, South Africa, the US, or any other geography which we are currently working in. The most important element for us is to create that one-stop shop, that umbrella of private solutions. So connecting with a local partner allows us not only to provide it for real people, but to utilize our technology, a local insurer, a local distributor, so they will have the easiest solution at hand to just click that button and be secured.
Great. Okay, thank you so much, Liad, for today's presentation. And this is the time to end our session. So let me thank so much to all our colleagues, friends, customer, and potential customer for your patience, for your interest. I would like to thank again Mr. Daniel Kolbar and the Economic Minister in Israeli Embassy in Tokyo, who is always supporting so much on a daily basis the Israeli innovative technology in Japan and promote us and the companies. And thank you so much for the presenter for your fascinating introduction and presentation. I'm sure the audience will find it relevant, interesting, and please contact us for any further detail, question, online meeting, and let's see how can we push those technology in order to penetrate the challenging yet the rewarding Japanese market. Minasan, kyo domo arigatou gozaimasu. Korekara mo yoroshiku onegai itashimasu. So the seminar is over. Thank you.